Hello, and welcome back to Uncoupled Mastery. Divorce is tough. It's emotional. It's overwhelming. And it can feel like the ground beneath you has completely shifted. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't talk about. Divorce is also one of the most legally complicated experiences you'll ever face. And when you're in the middle of emotional turmoil, it's so easy to make mistakes. Not because you're careless, but because you're human. The truth is, certain legal missteps can cost you your financial stability, your parenting rights, and even your peace of mind for years to come. So today, I want to walk you through the 7 most common legal mistakes women make during divorce, and more importantly, how to avoid them. My goal is to help you feel empowered and informed, so you can protect yourself and your future. Let's dive right in with mistake number 1. Mistake 1. Not hiring a lawyer or the right one. One of the biggest mistakes women make in divorce is not hiring the right lawyer. Maybe you go with a lawyer a friend recommended, or maybe you choose the cheapest option because you're worried about money. On the surface, that seems practical. But here's the danger. Not every lawyer is equipped to handle the complexities of family law. Think about it. Would you go to a podiatrist for heart surgery? Probably not. The same logic applies here. Divorce law has its own rules, procedures, and loopholes. If your lawyer doesn't specialize in it, you could be at a serious disadvantage. Let me give you an example. I once heard about a woman who hired her cousin, a corporate lawyer, to handle her divorce. He was brilliant with business contracts, but didn't know the first thing about custody schedules or spousal support calculations. Because he didn't file the right paperwork on time, she lost valuable parenting time with her children. And by the time she realized it, it was too late to fix. Here's the takeaway. Your lawyer is not an expense. It's an investment. Interview at least 2 or 3 attorneys before deciding. Ask them how much of their work is dedicated to family law, how often they've handled cases like yours, and what their approach is when it comes to custody and financial disputes. You want someone who knows the terrain and can advocate fiercely for you. Mistake 2. Not understanding marital versus separate property. This one trips up so many women, and I get it. The rules are confusing. Here's the short version. Marital property usually includes anything acquired during the marriage: income, houses, cars, retirement accounts. Separate property usually means what you had before the marriage, or things like inheritances or personal gifts. But here's the twist. The line isn't always clear. For example, let's say your husband bought a house before you got married. On paper, it's his separate property. But during the marriage, you helped pay the mortgage. Or maybe you spent money renovating that house. In that case, you might have a legal interest in it. On the flip side, let's say you inherited money from your grandmother. That's technically separate property. But if you deposit that inheritance into a joint bank account or use it to pay for family expenses, it could become marital property. And suddenly, Your husband has a claim to part of it. That's why it's so important to keep records, bank statements, receipts, anything that shows where money came from and how it was used. If you're already in the middle of a divorce, talk to your lawyer about something called tracing, which means proving the source of funds. Don't just assume the court will automatically know what belongs to who. Protect yourself with documentation. Mistake 3. Hiding assets or not looking for hidden assets. Now, I get it. Sometimes women think, well, I'll just tuck this little savings account aside. No one will notice. But hiding assets is a serious mistake. If the court finds out you weren't transparent, it could ruin your credibility and even cause penalties. But on the flip side, many women trust their spouse too much and don't dig deep enough to see if he's hiding anything. And unfortunately, it happens more often than you think. Maybe it's a secret business account. Maybe it's money being transferred to a relative. Or maybe it's cryptocurrency tucked away in a digital wallet. I remember hearing about a woman who only discovered after the divorce that her ex had been funneling money into a shell company for years. Because she didn't push for financial disclosure early on, she lost out on thousands she was entitled to. Here's my advice. Be honest in your own disclosures, but don't be naive about your spouse's. Review tax returns for unusual entries. Ask for full bank statements. If something feels off, trust your gut and ask your lawyer about bringing in a forensic accountant. Think of it this way. Once the divorce is finalized, you can't go back and claim what you didn't uncover. Mistake 4. Ignoring taxes in the settlement. It's easy to look at a settlement offer and think, wow, I'm getting a lot of money. But what matters is the after-tax value. Some assets are worth far less once Uncle Sam takes his share. For instance, spousal support, also known as alimony, used to be deductible for the payer and taxable for the recipient. But that changed under recent tax law. Now, alimony is not deductible for the payer, and it's not taxable income for the recipient. That can change how negotiations play out. Here's another scenario. You're awarded half of your husband's retirement account. Sounds great, right? But if you withdraw that money without a proper legal order, a QDRO or Qualified Domestic Relations Order, you could get hit with early withdrawal penalties and a massive tax bill. So here's the golden rule. Never finalize a divorce settlement without running the numbers with a financial advisor or tax professional. You want to know what that money looks like after taxes, not just on paper. Mistake 5. Overlooking debt responsibility. Divorce isn't just about dividing assets, it's about dividing debts too. And this is where a lot of women get blindsided. Here's the thing. Just because your divorce decree says your ex is responsible for a debt, doesn't mean the creditors will agree. If your name is still on that account, they can and will come after you. I know a woman who thought she was safe because the decree said her ex was responsible for the joint credit card debt. But he stopped paying. Guess who the creditors came after? Her. And her credit score tanked, even though the court order said it wasn't her responsibility. So what's the lesson here? Don't just rely on the divorce decree. Close joint accounts. Refinance loans so they're in one person's name only. Protect your credit by making sure your financial ties are truly untangled. Mistake 6. Neglecting custody and parenting plans. I see this all the time. A mum trying to avoid conflict agrees to vague terms like, "We'll work out visitation as we go." It sounds cooperative, but when tensions rise, that lack of clarity leads to endless fights. For example, one woman agreed to flexible visitation. She thought it would give both parents freedom. But in practice, her ex insisted on seeing the kids during every holiday, every vacation. And because the agreement wasn't specific, she didn't have a leg to stand on. That's why it's so important to spell everything out. Weekdays, weekends, holidays, birthdays, vacations, decision-making authority, even things like extracurricular activities or travel permissions. A detailed parenting plan isn't about being rigid. It's about giving your kids stability and preventing unnecessary battles in the future. Think of it as a roadmap for co-parenting. The clearer it is, the less you'll argue down the road. Mistake 7. Letting emotions drive legal decisions. Divorce is an emotional roller coaster. There's grief, anger, guilt, sometimes even relief. But if you let those emotions dictate your choices, you can end up hurting yourself in the long run. I've seen women give up spousal support or walk away from assets they desperately needed just because they wanted it over with. On the other hand, I've also seen people drag out litigation for years, spending tens of thousands in legal fees just to punish their ex. In the end, both sides lose. Here's the truth. You can't make smart legal decisions when you're making them purely from a place of anger or exhaustion. When you're faced with a tough choice, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this because it's legally smart, or because I'm angry or worn out? This is where having the right support system matters. Lean on your attorney for strategy. Lean on a therapist or coach for emotional support. Don't mix the two. The best legal outcomes come from calm, informed decision-making. So, there you have it. The 7 biggest legal mistakes women make in divorce, and how to avoid them. Let's recap quickly. Don't hire the wrong lawyer. Know the difference between marital and separate property. Be transparent, but also keep an eye out for hidden assets. Don't forget about taxes. Protect yourself from debt responsibility. Create a clear, detailed parenting plan. And above all, don't let your emotions steer the ship. Divorce is never easy, but avoiding these mistakes can make the process a little smoother and protect your future. If this video helped you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need it right now. And I'd love to hear from you. Which of these mistakes surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. Stay strong, stay informed, and keep building the future you deserve.